This girl is Song Zi, and she unexpectedly kissed a doctor's Adam's apple in a crowded elevator. Not long ago, she rushed to the dermatology department of a hospital due to a severe allergic reaction to mangoes, which left her skin red and itchy. Upon entering the consultation room, she saw a handsome doctor wearing a mask, Dr. Xie. Her heart started beating like a drum. During the consultation, although Dr. Xie maintained a cool demeanor, he suddenly grasped her wrist to examine the affected area. At that moment, her heartbeat quickened even more, confirming that she had fallen in love with this doctor at first sight. Summoning her courage, Song Zi asked for Dr. Xie's WeChat ID. However, he wasn't swayed by her enthusiasm and coldly refused her. But the girl was undeterred, becoming even more determined to pursue him. One day when her friend suddenly broke out in acne, Song Zi got a good idea and took her friend to the dermatology department, though her true motive was to see Dr. Xie again. However, he remained indifferent and even rejected her WeChat request again. Feeling quite down, Song Zi was about to leave when Dr. Xie reminded her that her false eyelashes had fallen onto his table. Embarrassed, she hurried out of the consultation room. She sat in a hallway chair, wondering if she should continue to pursue the cold and distant doctor. Just then, an elderly woman nearly fainted from dizziness. Song Zi, with a warm heart, quickly went to help her, and at the same time, a male doctor also reached out to assist. Song Zi took a closer look and realized that this male doctor was none other than Dr. Xie without the mask. He actually looked too handsome. One day, Dr. Xie went to a dance class to pick up his niece and discovered that her dance teacher was Song Zi. His niece was very fond of the teacher's song and even hoped she could become her aunt. With the little girl's help, Song Zi finally managed to add Dr. Xie's WeChat. They went to the supermarket with the little girl, and the scene looked just like a warm and happy family of three. But then, unexpectedly, Song Zi ran into a former nemesis from school. This old classmate made snide remarks at her, which greatly displeased Dr. Xie. He stepped in to defend Song Zi and even kindly paid for her groceries. Along the way, Song Zi was savoring the sweetness of Dr. Xie's gesture when she accidentally walked straight into his arms. This scene was so sweet. Dr. Xie escorted her home, but bluntly told her that he didn't want her to continue pursuing him, as it was causing him some distress. Song Zi was very upset by his words, but she quickly pulled herself together and smiled, telling Dr. Xie that she liked him and wouldn't back down or give up. Dr. Xie, looking at this cheerful and determined girl, felt a little moved. One day, Song Zi accompanied her friend to the hospital for a prenatal checkup, but little did she know this would lead to a major misunderstanding with Dr. Xie. While waiting in the lobby, Dr. Xie happened to pass by. He immediately noticed Song Zi standing outside the obstetrics department and overheard a nurse mention the word pregnant. He felt surprised and a bit annoyed, thinking that this woman was unreasonable, clearly pregnant yet still pestering him. He decided to keep his distance and act coldly toward her. Song Zi didn't understand the sudden change in Dr. Xie's attitude, only sensing that his gaze seemed even more distant than before. Feeling neglected, Song Zi was distracted all day and ended up in a car accident while driving. A truck driver crashed into her car and then had the nerve to demand compensation from her. How outrageous. She tried to argue, but he was very aggressive and even seemed ready to hit her. At that moment, Dr. Xie appeared and stopped the driver's unreasonable behavior, then took the injured Song Zi to the hospital. Before she went for a checkup, Dr. Xie reminded her that she had to inform the attending doctor if she was pregnant, as the examination could affect the fetus. Song Zi was confused. How could she be pregnant without knowing it herself? After some communication, she finally knew his misunderstanding and hurriedly explained to him that she wasn't pregnant. It was her friend who was there for a prenatal checkup. Now it was Dr. Xie's turn to feel awkward. Taking advantage of the situation, Song Zi teased him. If she were pregnant, the child's father would definitely be Dr. Xie. Her words made Dr. Xie blush instantly. Just as Song Zi was feeling pleased, the attending doctor came over to tell her that she had a cervical dislocation and would need to be hospitalized for a few days and wear a neck brace. The panicked girl tried to slip away, but Dr. Xie caught her just in time. The elderly woman in the next bed liked Song Zi very much and even insisted on introducing her unmarried son to her. Song Zi tried every possible way to decline, but the lady was relentless. Just as Song Zi was at her wit's end, Dr. Xia opened the door and invited her to eat with him. The elderly woman asked who he was, and Song Zi immediately grabbed his hand and said he was her boyfriend. Dr. Xia was shocked, but seeing her pleading eyes, he could only go along with it and walked out of the ward, arm in arm with her. Song Zi decided to confess her feelings to Dr. Xia on the day she was discharged from the hospital. She went to his department and poured out her affection for him. Just then, Dr. Xia was standing behind her. She realized that she had mistakenly confessed to his colleague. Embarrassed beyond belief, she fled into the elevator, but Dr. Xia chased after her. The elevator quickly filled up with people, forcing Dr. Xia to stand close to Song Zi, and at that moment, she accidentally kissed his Adam's apple. They gazed intently into each other's eyes, and even the cold Dr. Xia couldn't help but feel his heart race. Song Zi was completely captivated by Dr. Xia's sexy Adam's apple, so she decided to cook for him. However, her lack of culinary skills nearly set the kitchen on fire. Seeing the mess in front of her, she quickly ordered some takeout and put it all in her lunchbox. When she arrived at the hospital, she proudly told Dr. Xia that she had cooked the dishes herself. But the sharp-eyed doctor spotted some remnants of the takeout containers in the food and exposed her lie. Just as their relationship seemed to be progressing, rumors started circulating in the dance studio's group chat, claiming that Song Zi had once been a mistress. These rumors spread quickly, and the dance studio suffered greatly because of them. Feeling angry and helpless, Song Zi resorted to drinking beer alone at night. Dr. Xia suddenly appeared before her. The drunken Song Zi stood up, but accidentally fell into his arms. They talked all night, with Dr. Xia keeping her company, drinking beer with her, gently comforting her, and encouraging her to face the rumors bravely. With tears in her eyes, Song Zi leaned closer, wanting to kiss him. Dr. Xia didn't refuse and even quietly closed his eyes, but she suddenly passed out. What a pity! The drunken girl clung to Dr. Xia and kept acting cute, making him laugh uncontrollably. After returning home, she flopped onto the sofa, cupped his face in her hands, and complimented his looks. Just as Dr. Xia was about to cover her with a blanket, she suddenly grabbed his collar and unexpectedly kissed him on the lips. Dr. Xia was stunned and embarrassed, quickly got up and fled. The next morning, the sober Song Zi texted him an apology and mentioned the kiss from the previous night, stating that she would take responsibility. Dr. Xia, touching his lips, couldn't help smiling for a long time. That evening, Dr. Xia went to the dance studio and saw Song Zi dancing gracefully. He watched her and realized that he had unknowingly fallen in love with this girl. He offered to drive her home, and seeing her overjoyed, he couldn't help but smile again. In the car, he leaned over to buckle her seatbelt, and the atmosphere instantly turned very intimate. The next day, Dr. Xia invited Song Zi to a movie, but she unexpectedly ran into Dr. Xia's brother-in-law, who was cheating on his wife, and his mistress turned out to be Song Zi's classmate. She took pictures and showed them to Dr. Xia, who reassured her and promised to handle it. Seeing her still worried, Dr. Xia took her hand, a gesture that left Song Zi both surprised and delighted. Dr. Xia was tricked into going on a blind date, and Song Zi happened to witness the scene. She left angrily, not knowing that after she left, Dr. Xia directly and clearly rejected the date. Heartbroken, Song Zi decided to retaliate and also went on a blind date. Jealous, Dr. Xia rushed to the scene to stop her, but the still angry girl didn't want to hear his explanation. Desperate, Dr. Xia cornered her against the wall and kissed her in public. After releasing her, he explained that it was all a misunderstanding. Song Zi hugged his waist and agreed to be his girlfriend. Dr. Xia was overjoyed and held her tightly. Since becoming Dr. Xia's girlfriend, Song Zi had been inseparable from him. She picked up a stethoscope and leaned close to Dr. Xia, wanting to listen to his heartbeat. His heartbeat sped up immediately, and he couldn't help but kiss her in the office. Song Zi, even bolder, cupped his face and kissed him passionately, even unbuttoning his shirt. A still somewhat rational Dr. Xia quickly stopped her, But she was unfazed. Just as she was about to kiss him again, she noticed that the doorway was filled with Dr. Xia's colleagues. She hurriedly ran away, blushing with embarrassment. Dr. Xia's sister decided to divorce her cheating husband and demanded that his secretary return the money. During the affair, the husband had spent a lot of money on the mistress, which, being marital property, the wife had the right to reclaim. The husband was informed that he wouldn't get much of the property because his wife had gathered ample evidence of his infidelity. The mistress pleaded for his help, but the furious man ignored her and gave her a big slap. Humiliated, the former classmate blamed Song Ziyi for everything and started spreading more rumors about her online, accusing her of being a mistress who ruined a family. The parents at the dance studio believed the rumors and angrily confronted Song Ziyi, hurling insults and slander at her. Song Ziyi was unable to defend herself and ended up in tears. At that moment, Dr. Xia appeared. He gently wiped away her tears and then presented a clarifying video to the parents. He condemned their irrational behavior and firmly stated that he would pursue legal action against the defamers. Seeing her boyfriend protecting her like this, Song Ziyi was deeply moved. Meanwhile, the shameless classmate got what she deserved, losing her job and being abandoned by the unfaithful man, leaving her with nothing. Song Ziyi and Dr. Xia began living together. Watching her boyfriend cooking, she couldn't resist kissing him. But Dr. Xia was dissatisfied with such a brief kiss, so he took off his glasses, lifted her onto the counter, and kissed her passionately for several minutes. One day, while they were playfully teasing each other at home, Dr. Xia suddenly called her wife. The shy girl quickly turned around, and Dr. Xia hugged her from behind, revealing the engagement ring he had prepared and putting it on her finger. Touched by her sincere boyfriend, Song Ziyi burst into tears and hugged him tightly. On their wedding day, at Song Ziyi's request, Dr. Xia obediently wore a wedding veil. In front of their friends, they finally got married. In this way, the cold doctor who had rejected the girl multiple times became her lifelong soulmate. Let's wish them eternal happiness and love.